I am Muchaneta to Napel. I am currently in the Key House, which is the innovation hub for Munich Fabric Start, and I'm sitting with Nikita. You've come from a Blue Zone, yes?
Yes, correct.
You've come all the way from the Blue Zone to have a chat with me, so I truly appreciate it. Thank you so much.
No problem.
Do you mind telling our audience, Nikita, what it is that you do?
So I'm a senior denim designer for Hugo Boss.
Oh, okay.
So it's a very interesting company. Super interesting. And to be honest, denim is just my life. It's a
I'm
lifestyle.
curious now. You called it interesting. Tell me, how is it interesting? Is it the design aspect, the innovative side of it? What's interesting about Hugo Boss?
For me, Boss is extremely interesting on technology level.
Okay.
They're really pushing the boundaries on that. On 3D level, on technology, all of these angles that you know it's the future, but
Yes.
a lot of companies are always a bit reluctant to invest in it.
That's true.
And Boss is extremely aware of the situation and they're really pushing for it.
That's really exciting. And are you seeing like an advancement with this kind of like investing? Are you seeing the brand advancing?
Definitely. For what I've noticed, and I'm not a very technology person, so for me it's always quite like, I look it from a couple of steps behind because I really need to catch up a little bit on that. But when you step behind from the entire project of 3D and technology, you can actually have quite innovative ideas. So for example, we had this entire day about 3D technology.
Okay.
And I joined a seminar about fabric 3D. And to be honest, this was the first time in my life I ever heard about that. But then I ended up in a brainstorm with this other girl that was responsible for 3D. And we came up with the most amazing ideas.
See, that's the thing.
And then now we need to make it happen. But the ideas are there. We have the people involved, and now we just need to make it happen. And I didn't even know anything about 3D before that.
Do you know what it is? My best ideas have come from brainstorming.
And also sometimes completely not knowing anything.
Yes.
Sometimes knowing too much blocks you from the creativity, I've noticed.
Never thought of it like that, but you know what? That could be detrimental. I think you got to find the slight balance, and it's really hard to stay open when you're convinced of one thing.
Exactly.
Right?
Yes.
So it's that kind of like challenge of like when you're talking with people, when you're brainstorming, how can I remain open?
Exactly.
How can I learn from the other person?
Because I remember explaining to the girl of like, okay, let's take a step back. So you can make the fabric in 3D from scratch. But for denim, for example, we have the added challenge of the wash.
Yes.
Each mill has their technology of the dyeing, of the weaving. Everything is unique. So how can we add that to our fabric? Because it's quite interesting to create a fabric from scratch. And then we were like, I was just pitching some ideas of like, can we just not work with a mill that they can share their dye technologies and their weaving construction, and we implement it. She's like, never even thought about that. Because they were just looking at it purely from a woven perspective, a woven fabric, but they never thought, what else can we do with it? And in the end, denim is a woven fabric.
Yes, it is.
But they just never thought that far, and it was super interesting to
I like
pitch
that
idea.
approach, because even when I'm discussing certain things that I've heard, learned, listened to, when I talk to somebody else, they take me that little bit further.
Yes.
Where I thought I have reached the epicenter of information, someone else takes me that little bit further. It's like, wow, okay, you never stop learning.
And the best part of it, the brainstorm, is where you ping pong to each other.
Yes.
Like, it never stops.
See, I love doing that though.
Me too.
It's
the best part of the job, to be honest.
It is. It's like, because from my perspective, because I share information through my contribution to magazines, and also I give a lot of lectures and talks, and I lecture at university. It's really important that I am staying in the industry and in those conversations.
Yes.
And I learned so much.
And also just a different perspective, because, for example, I see it from a design perspective and a denim perspective, but they see it purely from the programs, the people they work with on the 3D. They just see it from a very almost logistic point of view.
Very technical.
Yeah, and I see it more from how can I implement the creativity
into it. So you're kind of like their logistics, your creativity, and bam.
Exactly
exactly the same there. So that's kind of really interesting. But as a designer, do you feel like there is enough information or learning moments out there to make you much more suitable to what's coming?
I think it depends from each person, because for me, I have a natural interest in the technical side. For example, denim is a very technical product. So for me, I love to understand how can we make this the best product.
Yes.
From the fusing into your waistband, all of these small details, this make your complete product. This is my personal thing that I really enjoy. But I know also designers that really purely focus on the concept, on the designing part. And for me denim is just not only designing.
Yes.
For me, the designing is finished when you actually have the product and people wear it, they think it's an amazing fit. This is when I'm happy.
What do you think about responsibility being put on designers and accountability when it comes to taking into your kind of design process, being sustainable or being a bit more better in terms of how you design your work?
This is one thing I really love about Hugo Boss, because everybody, designers, every single person in the team needs to understand the standards that we have in the company, which I think it's not just one person's job to maintain that, it's the entire team. For example, with fabric selection, we need to be aware of the standards so we can make a more informed decision. And I think also, if I look, I was talking to a lot of designers as well on the fair. Everybody feels they're going in the same direction. It's just not enough anymore to select a pretty fabric.
Yeah.
You need to understand, does this actually make sense? Because if it's conventional cotton, it's absolutely no point of using it.
Yes. That makes a lot of sense, actually. And I liked what you said in the sense that rather than having one person in the company responsible for the sustainability strategy for the whole company, actually making sure everyone is aware of what it is.
And I think Hugo Boss, in my opinion, is quite strong because they have a company target they share with the entire company. So every person, from in the design team to logistics, is aware of in what direction we're heading to.
I like that.
I think that's quite interesting because for me, I know a lot of designers that come new in Hugo Boss that are like, oh wow, we never had to deal with this, because normally we would have an R&D person to deal with this.
Yes.
But I'm thinking then, yes, but in the end, the designer is in charge of selecting the fabrics.
You need to have this knowledge.
Exactly.
Because without this knowledge, you can't make the right decisions, right?
And with denim industry, we're a little bit further ahead because we are a lot more in control already of the fabric selection because we have the wash that links to it. So for us, it's a bit easier, but I know other categories like tailoring and all of it, they have it a bit more difficult because for them it's suddenly, oh yeah, we need to keep in mind as well these standards.
Yes. And I don't think it should be an add-on. Do you agree?
It's a natural evolution for me. It's not.
It's
not nothing that suddenly we have to deal with it. It's just a natural evolution because everybody's aware of the situation in the world, so everybody should take their responsibility on it.
I like what you have to say there. I think what you're saying makes a lot of sense, and I'm hoping those that watch this understand that it needs to be, if you're a designer, it needs to be a natural evolution. It can't be an add-on, it can't be as you mentioned, you know, it has to be something that you progress with naturally, right?
Exactly.
So are you afraid of the legislations that are coming into play that are going to be holding a lot of companies responsible?
Yes. And also it's for a person, first of all, I'm not really good with administration in general, or the terminology they use, so it's a bit difficult to follow sometimes. That's why, for me, Boss is quite good in explaining it in a bit more like easy terminology.
Of course.
But it's extremely difficult to keep track of things. That's why also in Boss, they constantly change the standards. Because before PCI was okay, now it's not anymore okay, because we need to move more and more into regenerative.
It is constantly changing, which is why I'm always advising brands and also students, just keep an eye on what's going on.
Exactly.
It's very easy to create a Google alert and just have it popping into your email because it's so hard. It's moving like this.
It's really difficult sometimes to track. Like even I'm constantly following it on LinkedIn for the latest updates, but even then, every single day there's so many updates on small things where you just never thought. Like for example, in Germany now apparently there's a new legislation, and we're gonna get our head around before fall winter because you know the New Year's, the party collections with all the rhinestones. Apparently there's a new legislation about that we're not allowed to use those because of, if I remember well, it had to do something with microplastics and the chemicals and everything. So what do we do? Because this is usually our big hit sellers for party season.
Yes.
So now we need to already preempt, like make a strategy about that, how we're gonna make sure we have the shiny party look.
But you know what? There are innovation solutions out there that are tackling that.
Exactly.
That much I know for sure. So I think it's just forcing companies to look at other options.
I think it's brilliant though.
And to figure out, because I think we need like somebody forcing us.
Yeah, but you know, I think every brand, every person, the first reaction is like, oh no, what are we gonna do?
Yes.
Then it's actually good because then they stop a bit and they go like, Actually, that's not bad because maybe we can do it in this way.
Yeah.
You know, but it's always the first shock of like, oh no.
It's always an oh no. I had an oh no and then made me say that I have to pay money for my plastic bag in the supermarket. It was a oh no, what am I going to do?
Well,
You know,
problem solved, you bring your own
I
bag.
bring my own bag, right? So there's always, even though you have your oh no moment, there's always a way round it.
Exactly.
And I think once you get over that fact, you will then be like, okay.
And on the other hand, it's just another challenge in the industry. There's so many and it's very intriguing, and this is how you get to the innovation.
Indeed. I could talk to you forever. I think me and you
I
can
would-
have like a
love
brainstorm,
that.
right? We can just
Totally.
like chatting
No.
and come up with
I love
solutions,
brainstorming.
save the world, you know, come up with ways
Yes.
or caffeined up. So I really appreciate you coming all the way from the Blue Zone to talk to me.
You're welcome.
And I'm really looking forward to seeing what Hugo Boss does in the future.
Yeah, keep an eye on them.
I will be keeping an
They're
eye on
very-
you and what you're up to. So I
Okay.
really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome.